welcome everybody here tonight. It's nice to get together again. Seems like we're not doing that often enough anymore. Would you bow your heads please in prayer? Dear Lord, we come together today to meet and discuss important issues before our community. We ask for your blessings on this meeting. We ask that your wisdom would guide us in our discussions today. Thank you for this opportunity you give us to serve others. May our actions and our attitudes please you today. We pray these things in your mighty name. Amen.
Amen.
Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
As we move ahead to next year, we will be looking for program ideas. We really would like to get more input from everyone on topics or speakers you want presented. Next year will be an off year for political races, so we will have more freedom to present other types of programs. If you're wondering why I'm reading this, I'm the Bob Zelich tonight, so these are his notes. However, I do have a couple of announcements, and if somebody here can fill in any information on one of these, I'd appreciate it. As I understand, there's going to be a meetup at the Saddle Up in Bear Lake at 5 p.m. on Sunday. And it's going to be a Trump caravan, and we'll go from there up M22 to Leelanau, and then back through Traverse City and to Bear Lake. Does anybody else have information on that? Okay, well, if you're interested, turn on your headlights and be there at 5 p.m.
Maybe you're hard.
Yes. Also, I do have information here on someone who would like to put together a Trump rally in Manistee. He's located down in the Scottville area, and if anyone is interested in doing that, I do have a phone number here to contact him if you see me after the meeting. Well, we very much appreciate having Senator Vanderwall here tonight, and we don't hear enough from Lansing, and I think all of us are looking forward to getting a good education. Kurt?
Everybody for the opportunity. I'm going to just nestle into this chair, and here's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to kind of walk you through a little bit of what's happening in Lansing. Spend just a few minutes. We'll talk a little bit of what's happening in my committee that I chair. We'll talk a little bit on the national level, and then I'm just going to open it for questions. I do know they have a mic that they'll pass around so people can ask the question and not yell at me, so we have too many people that are talking over each and every one of us. But this thing is going in and out, but if it gets bad, I'll just talk loud. We'll switch mics, so. But real quick, we are in the election cycle, as all of you know. And part of the reason why I'm pretty casual today is that this morning I drove up to Traverse City, and my wife joined me, who's in the back, Diane. But we knocked doors for the candidate in the 104th, which is John Roth, who's running against Dan O'Neill, who lost last time by about 13 votes. So we've got a very critical, unknown candidate, but let me tell you, he's doing an awesome job, and a lot of us have volunteered, and we've been up there knocking doors, and we had a riot up there, and we finished just before the heavy downpour today, so that was even better yet. But here we are. We know that we have our governor that about 6 months ago declared a state of emergency in the state of Michigan for COVID-19 coronavirus. And we as legislators agreed in the beginning portion of this that we had a problem. We didn't know if we were prepared in our hospital systems. We didn't know exactly what this was going to do, and if we followed the pace of what was happening in Europe, we were going to be overwhelmed. So we agreed with her, and we decided that some things needed to be done and they needed to be shut down. We gave her one extension, and then she came back and she said, I want to declare a state of emergency until June. And we went, wait a minute, it's April 30, and you want to go all the way to June. We have no idea what this virus is going to do. Let's pace it out and let's make sure that we don't do it, and we need to go in weekly increments. We can do that. And she said, I'm not willing to do that. I will not negotiate that. And so we said, we will not extend it. At that point in time, she did the 1945 rule, which basically allowed her to enact her emergency orders, which I believe we're in the 190s now. So 190 plus emergency orders. And we fast forward to October 6th, after a lot of arguing, orders that we were concerned about, that we felt actually put people at harm's risk more than they were going to protect them. The Supreme Court agreed with us and said, 7-0, your executive orders are unconstitutional. 4-3, the 1945 rule cannot be enacted. So at that point in time, our governor decided that she was going to start calling it a health emergency and working through her departments, which is the Department of Health and Human Services. So what did that do? It meant that several of her executive orders no longer were valid, which put Michigan businesses at risk because of liability for COVID, put our hospital workers, our medical care workers at risk because if somebody came in and somebody didn't feel they were being treated, they could sue them. We had driver's licenses that no longer were going to be valid because they were no longer extended. So we had to do unemployment. We had about 24 things that we had to go through and fix. So of course we immediately went back to Lansing. We got to work. We got these things done. We finished them up yesterday, and they're now at the governor's desk, and hopefully we'll get those signed. So that's kind of, in a nutshell, very quickly, what has happened, because we didn't get a lot of other things done, unfortunately, because we were working on trying to negotiate and make sure our citizens of the state were taken care of. My health department committee through this time has been extremely busy. We've passed numerous mental health bills that have worked through the Senate floor over into the House. They're on the House floor now, hopefully get voted and get to the governor here within the next 2 weeks. A couple of the big ones is Certificate of Need, which is a commission that actually oversees our hospitals and allows certain procedures to be done, which basically takes hospitals in our smaller communities like Manistee or Ludington or Frankfurt and doesn't allow them to provide certain services because they originally had them. Now they've been bought up by a Munson or a Spectrum, and they go, we're just going to close these services down and we're going to move them to our main campus, which could be Traverse City or in Spectrum's case, Grand Rapids. They're still there, but nobody else can ever bring those into our smaller communities, which is a problem. And mental health is a big part of that. And I think we have found out, I think everybody in this room has experienced some mental health situation through a family member or somebody else, that we have a serious problem. And we've seen what the lockdown has done in lines of domestic violence, mental health, suicides, drug addiction, alcohol addiction is all increased. So that's a little bit of where we're at in my department or in my committee. But I think on the national level and on the local level, I think we're all really intrigued. Where are we at? Well, I'm going to tell you, Jack O'Malley's smashing a grand slam. Jack is literally going to take the 101st to a position that we haven't seen in probably over 30 years and lock it up. That we've seen right now that the Democrats are putting a candidate that's weak at best, giving zero money, no backing, kind of leaving that person on their own, and they're saying, we're gonna target other areas. One of them is 104th and Traverse City. We barely won that in the last 6 years. We've got a great candidate. He's neck and neck with him. I believe he comes in and wins, and it's a huge upset. But we have some candidates that are going against two-term incumbents right now that are going to win. And we're going to take new Republican seats that we never expected to take back. And why are we seeing that? Well, number one, we're seeing it because John James he's doing really well. The latest poll shows him up just over a point, which is phenomenal. But yet he still trails, he's ahead, our president is trailing. And we say, okay, why is that? And we feel right now that we have some folks that won't, or they're not telling the truth when they're doing a poll. They'll come in and they'll say, yes, I'm voting for Biden, or they're not going to answer that poll. And so we show Trump right now about 4 points down, but a month ago he was down 12 points. So now all of a sudden we're down only 4 points. We're in the margin of error. And if anybody's seen what's happened, I mean, the man knocked it out of the park. We had 10,000 people in Muskegon County. There's a perfect example of a county that was blue, that potentially is going to be the first time it's ever going to vote Republican. And we do believe that we're going to take the commission seats there, and we're actually going to have a commission that's going to be more Republican than Democrat. So we're seeing a lot of positive things. But what that means is we can't let up. We've got 12 days. And it's 12 days of each one of us in these rooms making sure that we're talking to our friends, we're talking to our neighbors, we're making sure they get out and get to the polls if they haven't voted. If they're voting absentee, it's even more critical because every day more are filled out. And I think that's the other piece that we've got to look at, is that we've had more Republican absentee ballots turned in than we've had Democrats so far, which has never happened. So that's saying that our base is electrified, we're ready to go, we're excited. I will tell you, we feel the pulse when we're on the doors right now. This is gonna be one of those come election night. When I wake up on November 4th, our President Donald Trump gave me the best doggone birthday present that I could ever have on November 3, is to have him come back with a victory. And I was telling a couple here earlier, I said, I've been working a graphic for Tuesday that says, thank you, Donald Trump, for the greatest president I could ever have. 4 more years.
There you go.
We'll see where that goes. But with that, I'm excited to be here. I really tell you, things overall, even with a governor that has been at best angry and a bully, we continue to push forward. We have a budget that, you know, we projected somewhere over $1 billion shortfall. We're down $300 million. And it's not because of her, because honestly, if we would have moved forward and opened our businesses the way we should have, safely, with the right precautions, that number could have been probably half of that, which would have meant so much more of what we could do in our communities for services, for opportunities. But you know, we're going to continue to push forward with education. We need our kids back in school. I'm just going to tell you right now, we don't need them at home, starting at home. We need them in school. They need that balanced lifestyle. They need to be working with their peers. So we're going to continue to advocate that our kids get back to school. So with that, I'm just going to open it up, and I will do my best. If I can't answer the question, I'm going to tell you I can't, but I'll get you the answer. Who's got a question for me? Yes, sir.
What do the Democrats see as the payoff to keep our state closed like it is?
That is a great question. The payoff is fear, and the payoff is that they feel that they're going to get more votes because of it, because they're making us dependent on that. And that's a great segue into, I did not talk the COVID numbers, and I think we should really talk about that. What are we hearing on the news right now?
They're going up.
The numbers are going up. What have they failed to tell us right now? That our testing is anywhere from 45,000 to 50,000 daily tests. When you take 1,300 cases into 50,000, our number has actually not changed. Our number is the same, and a week ago, we had actually gone down 0.2 of a point, where it went from 2.1 to 1.9, but yet the only thing that the media was saying is our cases have gone up. Now, I will agree, our cases have gone up. We have had some more hospitalization, but we are also in flu season. We're also in a normal time that we've seen some of that pattern. But what we have done, and we have actually met with the department and said we want the daily testing numbers, the daily death count per county, and we want to know what they are, and they have said, well, we can't provide that with you, we can only give you a weekly number. And that's baloney to me. So we're looking at subpoena them to get those numbers so that we can have that, so people will actually know what our daily testing is and what the true increase or decrease is on positive tests. But fear is the number one goal that they want to promote.
Yep.
They
They've
want to
done a
promote.
good job doing that.
They've done a great job, and she's done it every time. I saved lives, I saved lives, I saved lives. But she forgets to say we put elderly COVID positive patients in our nursing homes, 2,500 deaths. We're trying to get the numbers from assisted living and adult foster care, but we know that there's flaws in those numbers, and that we probably, or I will say not probably, we would have done a better job if we would have continued to work with 3 branches of government instead of 1 branch.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, hi.
Hello.
Thanks for everything you've been doing, appreciate it. Just got a comment and whatever. One of the issues that I still haven't figured out is that, like our medical center, our medical care facility, which is a county facility and there's throughout the state, have just decided they're locking everything down like they had. My mother-in-law, who was there for about 1.5 years, 2 years, perfectly healthy when she went in. She passed away. We got her out the last 4 days. We finally forced the administrator to let us in and take her out and everything. And then she died, and on her death certificate it says failure to thrive is the reason. And I talked to the doctor about it, and he says, we're starting, the doctor started to do this because that's what's happening. They're perfectly healthy and being isolated, locked down. They couldn't go from the 2nd floor to the 1st floor, no dining rooms, anything like that, and it's still happening over there.
Oh, yeah.
Even worse now because somebody may have had, infected or something, but that was even in the area. I'm talking to other facilities, and they're all like this as far as the county medical care facilities. What I don't understand is that nobody's doing anything about the mental health component in there. You've got social workers and people that are in there being employed by them, which is whatever, but I don't know where we can go in and take a look at these individuals and what's going on from an outside source, because I think that's what's, a lot of the people, they'll come up with other things that are wrong with them, but she didn't have anything wrong with her. In fact, there's nothing wrong with her. But as it explains, they get to the point where depression, everything takes over, and they don't even know they're not wanting to eat. They just don't eat. It's that kind of thing, and that's what happens. So I'm not sure what's out there that can oversee these situations other than a bunch of us that, we've got a group that go there still 30th week in a row now, that every Saturday we're there saying the rosary outside the building because we don't know what else to do. We can't go in, we can't, any of that kind of stuff. But there's got to be professionals, or at least if nothing else, an outside source from a federal level that should be able to find out what's going on in these places.
Great question. Here's what, as you know, earlier in June, we looked at some of those rules and regulations, and we actually passed the bill for nursing homes. It got to the governor, passed both chambers. It got to the governor, she vetoed it. She actually asked if I would be willing to serve on the nursing home task force. We met for 8 weeks. And this was exactly one of the subjects we brought up, was the mental health of the patients that were inside the facility, because nobody could come in, they couldn't come out, They couldn't leave their room, they were being fed in the room, nobody was making sure if they ate their food or didn't eat their food, or if it was being tossed. So we took that, we reworked the Pete Lucido, Senator Lucido bill, passed that again, and it got to the governor. And as of today, inside visitation is now going to be allowed. It should start within the next few days, that people will actually be able to go back in nursing homes and care facilities and visit their loved ones. Because we know that the mental health piece of that there was many of those folks that died because of loneliness and a broken heart. And what's more important to them is, not somebody that's coming in and the chance of exposure. It's if I don't get to see somebody and I can only look through them. I mean, we had nursing homes that wouldn't even allow a child to visit their parent through a glass window outside. They were being removed from the property. And this is exactly what we talked about. And as I said, I just read an article today, and I'm not exactly positive, but I believe the date is either this week or it already went into effect today. But that's a great point, and we did. And how did that get done? It was, again, out of fear, out of power, out of grabbing and reaching for straws. And the worst part is we were putting, most of those deaths that happened inside because we put unhealthy people with healthy people, and then we caused the mental health stress, and it just spiraled out of control. But that's where we're at.
I can just follow up real quick. I understand that, and in this case, they've never had COVID in the
Right.
center and everything like that, and I appreciate that. But on the other hand, it's up to the center if they want to do this. So that's the thing, is how do you go
It
around
was
it?
not up to the center. It was an executive order by the governor, which is now a health department that has put that in place, and they could not violate it.
No. I mean, but now with this, letting him in, if Manistee County Health Department says lock it down, it's going to stay locked down. What avenue is there for the loved ones to be able to get this? That's the issue. Right?
Yeah,
They could Green Acres or something like these other places. They could easily, because they're private entities, they could shut it down anyways.
That issue, when it comes to a local decision, would have to be worked through, and it would have to be challenged through court with the local health department to say why. And in most cases, I think they were following what the governor put in place, and I do believe that you're going to see now that she's changed some of those things, that you'll see them open that up.
The issue that we had, which I hope and maybe you can help, is the fact that if you call the adult abuse line in the state of Michigan, they would say, no, that's just something you have to do longer. That's where this has got to go, to be able to say, this is abuse of an individual.
Let me give you my card.
That line should be open to be able to.
Right, let me give you my card, and if you could reach out to my office, we'll assist you on some of this.
So will the state legislature still repeal the 1945 law if the signature requirements are met and certified by the state?
Absolutely, 100%. And our goal is, of course, and I'm going to tell you exactly where I think our Attorney General is going to go. She's going to, and the Secretary of State, they're going to try to slow walk this. And they're banking that they're going to lose majority in the House. So exactly why I'm saying it's extremely important that we retain the majority in the House, because if they slow walk it and they don't allow it to come until January 10 of 2021, and we have a majority in the House, we'll fail to get that done, and then it'll have to go to the ballot. It will then go to the ballot. We want this to be immediately done. We feel that it should be done already in November, but we're going to have to wait and see where the Secretary, the average has been 65 days, and she's saying that it could be 105 days, so you can already see what the attitude and what they're trying to do. But yes, we will, and that's our number one goal, to get it done.
I have a few questions.
All right.
Number one, our governor broke the law.
Yep.
She shouldn't have the right to make any more orders, period. Her right rights should be stripped away from her, and how come they're not? For that, how can she keep?
Let me address that first part, is that she's an elected official in that position, and through the Constitution, she is exempt from some of those liabilities and some of those that she could be sued for because she's using her judgment. It's in the Constitution, the Michigan Constitution. Not what you wanted to hear, but
Because
the
anybody else, they
legal
would have
aspect.
been, and, arrested.
Correct. But it's,
I don't feel
it's a
the
legal thing.
law should be, she broke the law, then consequences follow. And it wouldn't for anybody else.
Then we've got to change that constitutionally.
Yes. And another one is, I feel bad for the people that lost their jobs because of the shutdown that's been so long. And I'm glad the governor, they found a way to give them more money. But there's workers, I work with hundreds of people that we worked all the way through from day one. We didn't get extra benefits, we didn't get nothing, which, people don't want to go back to work because of the money that they're making at home. They're making more money than I do in almost a month, some people. And it's like, where does the line's drawn there, Yeah, if the family really needs it, is one thing. But when you got people just quitting their job and using this one excuse and getting money for it, it's really upsetting.
Okay, let me grab that real quick. First of all, thank you for what you do and what you did to put yourself on the line in front. What we did is we just passed last week the unemployment bill, which basically puts us on the federal level, which has extended it for 7 more weeks. But if you deny a job or call for a job and you fail to take that job, your benefits are gone 100%. We put that in place, and the governor did just sign that in last week. So we have addressed some of that. That was one of our biggest concerns that we had when they did the federal. When we threw an extra $600 on top of it, we had people that were making a lot more money than they ever had. Now, my feeling is that we're a few months away from seeing what that exactly is going to do because people bought things they shouldn't have bought. They were spending and making a lot more money, and that is a concern. But we did address it. It is done. The governor signed it in, and we should start seeing these jobs that are sitting out there being filled because people, if they don't take those jobs that are offered to them, they'll lose their benefits 100%.
Okay, we got companies that are working at home, insurance agencies, your Secretary of State's office closed, Consumers Powers closed, but they got a drive-up window, unnecessary for them to even shut down. They penalized people that couldn't pay their electric bill, only gave them a week to 2 weeks notice to get caught up on their bills. I know that for a fact. They shut off the lights. Why are these people continuing to work at home when the rest of us are out there still working? Now that is not right.
Well, a company like DT is a private company. They can do that. For any shutdown, there should not have been any shutdown because we passed some of those rules that didn't allow companies to disconnect water or municipalities to disconnect water. The Secretary of State, that is a whole new problem. I'm going to tell you, we elected her. The governor doesn't even have control over what our Secretary of State does. She's made this rule. I think if anybody has seen any of her TV commercials, what she has done everything to promote the attitude of one side, which is my left. And that's a problem. And exactly what we did, we just had the Secretary of State. We did a special committee, oversight committee meeting. The COVID money, she spent all but about $3.5 million in the COVID money, sending out absentee ballot, other mailers, nothing spent to speed up the election counts and the protections. And this is some of the things that we discussed. And it was know, unfortunately, under the federal COVID relief, the way some of these things were written, and that's one of the reasons why you're seeing it not being approved right now, because we can't have the underbelly rule the situation, and because it only promotes a negative attitude and give me more, give me more, give me more, which means we will teach you how to vote, and it's no different right now. If you click on an internet site, they now have your information, and if it was a Democratic site, they're going to flood you with everything they can to get you to become blue. And these are the situations, that's why you're seeing such a big push right now on social media for Trump to get people to go that way so that we can actually counteract. Excuse me. Hopefully that answered your question.
I have a question.
Why is it so hard for Congress to pass a simple bill rather than to give us a bunch of chop suey in each bill?
I think it comes down to two things, public pressure and media. And public pressure and media, and what they've done is when you get so many people, and I will, you know, I'm going to tell you, if President Trump had not approved this, we could have cashed our president's opportunity to win right out the window. Because, I mean, I've got people that send me messages all over the time, you Republicans. They say, whoa, wait a minute. It's not us. Do you think that we can just keep printing money? Well, no, I don't think we can, but I really want another stimulus check. But you can see how the media has pushed that.
Oh, yeah.
And now that person is probably going to lean where we don't want to, because, excuse me, Biden and Harris are going to continue to try to pump free money in. And once you're dependent, they've got it. And then the freedoms of being an American are gone. I mean, our president is fighting to keep America, America. He's not trying to keep us a social America. He's not trying to keep us as a communist America. He wants us to be the free enterprise, get out there and do the work that we need to do. But that's exactly what it is. It was the social aspect of media, and if he didn't, we'd probably lose the election.
I think everybody's getting a good taste of socialism right now.
Absolutely.
That's exactly what's happening.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I have a question. Well, actually, I have a comment. As far as employment and unemployment, I do bookkeeping for our son's business. You have no idea what an employer has to go through with unemployment to prove that someone quit. Even if you have a text, it's hours of time that is spent by an employer to prove that someone was offered a job or someone actually quit the job, that they were not fired, and it's ridiculous. And my last correspondence with unemployment about an individual who had quit, and I had a text that said, you know, can't pay my bills, got a new job, sorry dude, with his phone number, send that in, and it was probably, 4 or 5 hours of my time, and then conversations. It's like, what part of this don't you get? And then during all the COVID stuff, he reapplied, and they came back after we'd already said, you're denied, because he quit. And he'd worked 2 other jobs where he had made maybe $1,200 at each one of them after he quit our employment. And they wanted to draw back off from us. And I just said, this is ridiculous. And I wrote out a whole letter. And I said, I'm going to contact Jack O'Malley, my representative. And that was the end of it. But it took until I said, I'm contacting my representative, that they finally denied that guy unemployment. It's absurd. I mean, you have to really go to war. We've had hearings with judges where the employee doesn't show up, and then the judge gives them another chance to show up, and it is absurd, the hours that an employer has to go through to prove that somebody no longer wanted to work for him.
I'm thankful my wife handles that part of the project.
Yeah, well, I'm turning it over to our new daughter-in-law.
It's always been like that. I was in that business.
It's
and
horrible.
Ever since I can remember, it's always been like that, so.
But when they come in to talk to you and tell you what a great job they're doing and how they're working through all this stuff and they're looking for a fraud, that's crap. They are all about the employee getting benefits whether they deserve them or not.
That is absolutely correct, and I will tell you, we've worked extremely hard inside our office because so many denials or they won't even reach back out to the person. And it has been a royal disaster in our leadership at the higher end that's in charge of that currently has done a poor job, and it's embarrassing.
It is. It's really hard, and it's gone on, like Steve said, for years. It's gone on.
You know, I
but
remember that when I was looking for employees, I won't mention any names, but if you weren't a veteran, you got pushed back to the end of the line. So they put veterans first.
right.
And you know, it's all well and good if he's qualified, but he wasn't qualified, but they still made you hire veterans.
Right.
Not that I have anything against veterans, I'm a veteran too, so. But it just, you know, it's just not a good system, so.
And people do not, like you said, with the unemployment benefits and the extended and the extra money, people do not want to work. You know, our son has a detailing shop and he's gone through, even since COVID, probably 10 people. And they may last a day, they might last 2 days, they might last 4 days, and then it's like, no, this is hard work. We're out of here.
So with the governor turning to the health department to enforce what she wishes on businesses, what are the legal avenues to turn that cat around? Because that's
the next thing. We have filed a couple of new suits this week. Also, probably by the end of the week, there'll be a lawsuit filed for open carry at polling places. But we asked for it to be quickly addressed so that we could get this rectified, because we believe she's overstepping the Supreme Court. She's using the health department to declare a state health emergency, which we don't believe is right. So we have files on it. It is in the Supreme Court already, or in the court system.
Hey Kurt, I got a question for you. Do you think that a lot of this, 192 executive orders, do you think these are being suggested by the Democratic National Committee? Because a lot of this stuff just doesn't seem like it's good for our state. So I'm just wondering if she's being led by the nose by some other people.
I guess, Steve, the easiest way to put it, I think we all want to race to a conclusion. I think we're going to find that out. We found out she lost the first job interview, and that was being nominated to be the vice president.
Yeah.
Now the second piece would be, what cabinet could I potentially get? And I do believe that she's continuing to advocate, because if you look, she has been a huge Trump slammer.
Oh, yeah.
Every opportunity she gets. And if you really want to get to who incites violence and who wants to incite negative attitudes and wants to incite things, I think we can look at our governor. She's done a fantastic job of being very negative. And I'm not justifying some of the things that our president has said. But if you look, every chance she gets, she's going to drag the Trump name through the mud. Because I believe she's bucking for a cabinet position, and I don't know what that cabinet position is going to be, but she's looking for a hot spot for her future.
I don't think it'll be one in the Trump administration.
No, me neither. No.
Well, I don't think that we'll have to worry about that. Hey.
I have a few.
Okay.
Tandem to Drew's comment, what is the health department's legal limits? Because they are set up as a department of the government. But it seems like Whitmer has been able to run her wishes right through. And they themselves have overstepped their bounds.
We agree 100% with that
Right.
they've overstepped the bounds. However, it's what she is saying is it's our interpretation that the health department, we can do this claiming a national or a state emergency, and that's what they're banking on as being their legal footing. We don't agree. Why now we have to go through the court system to get a ruling on that one. We'll rule on that one, and then we hear rumor that she's banking on a 1918 rule, that she's ready to try to roll some things on that. So it is the situation that our governor is going to continue to roll through this until the election is over, and then I do believe you're going to see things settle into a new direction.
Better or worse?
It depends who's president.
Yeah, okay.
If President Trump continues to be our president, she's going to continue to try to make this harder and harder. If for some crazy reason Biden wins, you're going to see her ease restrictions very quickly to make Biden look like some kind of hero.
Golden boy, yeah. But what is the Senate, the House, what is the legislature going to do about what she's doing right now with the health
The
department?
only thing we can do and legally is file suit against them. We can go against her and do everything we want, but remember, if we write a law and we write a bill and we get it passed, she's going to veto it. That's her right, and that's what she's already done. We've had 7 or 8 bills that would have addressed a lot of these health issues already, and she vetoed every single one of them. And that's within her power, and that's what she's done. Unfortunately, we have to have the courts rule in our favor.
So she's using the court system.
Absolutely, 100%.
Okay. Is there any way that word can get out how much she is vetoing? And do you have power over her veto?
Override them.
We do, but you have to have 75%.
75%.
And we don't have 75%.
Wow.
Got to work on that.
Yes, we do. That's called the election. And that's what I always tell people. Elections have consequences. And if you don't get out and vote, then you don't have a complaint. And I know for some of you, you've all visited, but Free Soil does a pig roast every year at the fire department. And I was down there during the campaigning in 2018. I had a guy come up to me and he just ripped me. And I said to him, that's why you need to vote for me. And he goes, well, I don't vote. And I said, you see the rest of this room, they do vote. And when they cast a ballot for me, I'm representing them. You're getting your view, but if you don't vote, you have no reason to complain. And I moved on to other folks because honestly, you have no right to complain if you do not vote. So that's why we got to get our people out to vote.
What is the status of what Whitmer, she came back after the Supreme Court judgment, and she wanted to file something, and I have lost track of anything.
The 21 day, it was the 21, she wanted to make her EOs still effective for 21 days. The Supreme Court struck that down immediately.
Right.
And ruled, and that's when she came back to the health department.
Okay, there was no other intervening legislation. Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
We have about 10 million people in Michigan.
That's correct.
And I've been looking at the death stats that they put on the Michigan website. And we're averaging, since around the 1st of June, we're averaging about 20 deaths a day statewide. I'm not really great at math, but I did the math. That's like 0.0002% of the population. I mean, it's pretty small. 20 deaths a day is terrible, but not like it was back in March and April. Okay, at what point, and who will do this? Will someone declare, we're no longer in a pandemic, we're no longer in an epidemic, we're down at flu level deaths? You know, I mean, are they going to declare a pandemic every time flu season comes?
Not till after the election.
No, here's where we're at, and I would have to look at those numbers. I actually think the numbers are higher, but our numbers are tracking very similar to what they were in the past, but things are being labeled COVID, that used to be flu. I will tell you what we're looking at doing in right after the first of the year, just because of the way schedules are. we're gonna actually do an oversight committee inside my health committee. And we're gonna ask for all the numbers, we're gonna ask for an audit so that we can actually go back and look at what the cause of death was. We have, my wife and I met with some doctors in Reed City. We know for a fact that there are folks that have died because of, you know, an automobile accident or another accident, and if they've tested positive for an antibody, they've been labeled as a COVID death, which is not true, and the doctors are extremely upset about that because they feel it sends the wrong message for the communities that are, you know, those deaths are being logged. But, you know, the situation goes, they're using the numbers in their benefit right now to create a fear and try to promote their voter to go out and perform better than the Republican voter.
I think the hospitals are gaming the system a little bit too.
$39,000 for every COVID.
They've been
Yep.
guilty of that in the past, so.
Yep.
39,000.
This is, I've got just a curiosity question.
Absolutely.
Earlier this summer, there was on social media that government was going to fund the police. So I got online, I got some kind of official memorandum that looked like she did. And I looked at the budget cuts, I did the basic math. To me, it cut state police and corrections by about 80% of all the total cuts. My friends reassured me, oh no, it's maybe that happened, but the COVID relief funds are going to fill that in. So I contacted Bergen's office, and one of them sent me the bill, so I kind of rest assured that it did happen, but to your knowledge, there's no, we're not defunding the police.
We did not defund the police. That's exactly what went through the COVID relief. There was monies that could go for law enforcement. We were able to take some of those monies that we had budgeted for the state police because of the federal dollars that came in. We could use them in other spots that did get the cut, but there was absolutely no defunding of the police, contrary to what some people wanted to say.
Well, I'll make one other comment too. A representative called Friends of Orchard Beach State Park, and he just wrote us a very nice letter of support for our project. Thank you very much. Your thank you cards in the mail. And also, great things are happening there. I just want to echo that for Manistee, the investment of the state within our Parks and Recreation Division and saving our shelter building, it's very much appreciated. They're actively doing it right now. So it's one of those cases where I appreciate the investment in Manistee. So.
Well, thank you very much. And I think if everybody knows, I believe Manistee is on the cusp of being a phenomenal hotspot on the west coast of Michigan. We've got everything, we're lining up, the county board, the city, everybody's working together, and I just see big things happening. I think we're working really hard on broadband to bring it out into our rural sector, which will allow businesses to grow in Calva, Coatmish, Benzie County area, Thompsonville. I just see a lot of really great things going for the county of Manistee, and we're going to continue to push because I will tell you, if we could get what we have potentially in the hopper for Manistee, you guys, it is just going to be phenomenal, just phenomenal.
You know, Kurt, you did mention about the defunding the police. You know, they can be defunded on the local level too. And you're just referring to the state police. So.
That is correct.
I would like to go back to your earlier comment because I had a question that I forgot to ask.
Okay.
The differences between pandemic and emergency, how is that defined by the state? And is there a clear definition? Because the
No.
ruling I have
No,
here,
there is not a clear definition.
okay,
We don't believe it's a
emergency.
pandemic,
yeah,
and neither does the World Health Organization and the federal government. But number one, what did I say earlier? The media does a lot of things to promote. They're not going to allow a pandemic to go away. Our governor never allows that to go through, and even in some cases, we don't change our verbiage to say that. We got a virus, it's not good, We've given people the tools to manage the virus. We can't stop this. And that's what I try to tell people. We've given everybody the tools. We've given you you can wear a mask if you prefer to wear a mask, constitutionally or unconstitutionally. If it makes somebody uncomfortable, I tell people, don't go into a business then if you don't feel that that's where you should be because somebody may expose it, then don't go there. We've given you the tools to have food delivered to your house. There's those opportunities. But we cannot continue to promote fear to make people panic and believe that this is worse than what it is. And I understand, but we're at the time of year. If you look what happened to us in the spring, that's when we had the spread. We were all locked in, we had our furnaces running, we didn't get out and exercise. If you get out and exercise, it's been proven that your chances are gonna be less. But you know what? Same thing when we had the flare up in Florida. When did we have it? Hot weather, where were people inside where the air conditioner is running? These are simple things that we need to look at. But exercise, get out and do a walk, a mile a day, whatever it happens to be. We're gonna be healthier people in the long run. But mentally right now, when we're locked down, there's way more risk than what is not gonna happen.
Where did the word emergency come from? What constitutes the emergency that the Department of Public Health is referring to?
I can't give you that answer right now. I honestly don't know.
Is anybody asking the question?
No. Probably not. Probably not.
What good would it do? Wouldn't do any good.
No, I know.
I mean, she's placed that, it goes back again to her feeling that her reading and interpretation of the law gives her this right to do, and that's where the courts have to make that decision. I mean, we could argue it all day long, unfortunately.
But how much longer are we going to have to go along with her?
2 more years.
Oh my God.
I'm counting the days.
2 more years. I'm going to tell you right now, it's 2 more years. If we want to continue on at this pace, we're not going to impeach her. That's not going to happen. I think people have to understand that we're not going to get tied up in court and it's going to be re-election time. The biggest thing that we can do is continue to advocate to make sure that we take our people, get them to the polls, get them to vote, and what we'll do is if we send more Republicans back to the legislative branches, nationally and locally and in our state, we send the message, you better wake up. And that's why I say November 4, we're going to start seeing what attitude we're going to have.
That makes sense. However, what is the legislature doing now to demand she resupply some data? Are you doing it piecemeal?
Yeah, we actually subpoenaed her for this. Subpoena action to get the data, and they are slow walking everything. And they'll give you little pieces, but they'll never give you the whole picture, and that's why we subpoenaed the departments for that information.
All the departments?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
How is a subpoena created?
Subpoena is basically, it's a law piece that is brought in through the departments that are put in with the legislative body. You go through the voting process, and that's how the subpoena gets done.
We have a question.
Kurt, talk to us a little bit about schools and the school rulings, like the little ones have to wear masks, etc. The governor made the initial offer, and now is it to the Department of Health who is continuing those rules, or is it local school boards?
Actually, what the school systems did in the beginning of the school year, they wrote a school plan, and they put that school plan in place. They're actually the ones, the school board can come down and say, we want to change our school plan. And that's where we said, when she mandated through her mask requirement for K through 5th grade, then the Supreme Court ruled, we told our school systems, you don't have to implement that. You already wrote your school plan and what it was, and it was approved to start the school year. You don't have to implement that. And most of the schools did not, unless the school boards felt that they wanted to. But in most cases, they did not, because they wrote their plans in the beginning of the year. Oop, I didn't catch that question, I'm sorry.
Is there a monetary gain, and for whom, if it's
considered a COVID death?
Are you talking in a nursing home or in a hospital?
Whatever.
In a hospital, we are under the understanding if it's a COVID death in that hospital, they get $39,000 for that death from the federal government.
And when it's in, that's the nursing homes?
That we don't, there's no money in the nursing home for that. We just unfortunately had 30-some% of the deaths in the state of Michigan in nursing homes because of the way we place COVID positive into centers where they're with healthy people.
Number one, I believe the mask, putting the fear in people, making them do what the government wants them to do, is going to usher in this vaccine. Now, are they going to make that mandatory for everybody to take that vaccine, or do we have a choice? The mask should be a choice and not a...
I will say it's going to be a choice because they can't force me to put something in my body I don't want to. And I will give you a perfect example. I don't do the flu shot because the year I did it, I was sick all year. So I won't do it again. And I've had certain institutions say, well, you can't come in here if you don't have a flu shot. And I said, well, I appreciate it. I won't come in. Because I'm in control of my own body. And when the government starts mandating what we're putting in there, I have an issue. And that's taking our personal right away. So no, I do not believe that the federal government at any point, state or federal, can mandate that we have to take that virus shot.
Well, look what they did with the mask. They made everybody wear a mask. They made everybody stay home.
But we challenged it.
Yeah.
We challenged it and we worked that. I still say it's unconstitutional, but you know what, you gotta understand. A private business can they can follow any rule they want. They own that business. So they say that you have to wear a mask. Even if it's, if they don't allow you in, they don't have to allow you in. That's a private business.
We all have
Now,
that sign.
The airline will keep you off.
well, and that is correct because of licensing, and that's exactly the same thing with this business here. And then they are being sued over those things. And, you know, we know that there's going to be many lawsuits against the state because of the decisions she made.
I was kind of curious about impeachment, how many people have to sign on. I mean, imagine
Same thing, same amount of people that we did for Unlock Michigan, and that's 345,000 in a certain period of time.
I mean, if the legislature went through an impeachment process, do they have to get, you know, like 75% or something?
Oh yeah, you would have to do the 75%, so that's why it has to be a citizen initiative.
Which isn't good enough.
No, it's not, because we have a four-person majority in the Senate, and we have 3 in the House, so 75% is never gonna happen.
I just wanted to make sure people knew that.
Yeah, thank you.
Rather than, that's why I
Yeah, I hear a lot about the state health department. The thing that people gotta watch out for is the county health departments. And if you're familiar with what's going on in Union County, here's a lady that shut down East Lansing. If you're out shoveling the snow without a mask or whatever, you get a $500 fine in the city. The city's mandated throughout, they're literally putting signs up on houses to quarantine. It's just like, you know, it's like a foreign world down there now. And it's just, you're not allowed to be outside at different times, things like that. So, I mean, and that's not the state, that's the county.
Correct. And I've advocated that we don't allow county health departments or district health departments make those rules, because depending on who's in charge of those departments, you could have some unbelievable rules, and then there's really no chance that the state legislature can make any changes. So I agree with you 100%. We've got to be very careful on that aspect, and we don't allow that to happen.
Isn't that already happening? I thought I saw on the state health website, they were talking about district number 10, which is like the 8 or 9, 10 counties around Manistee, that they were going to be making decisions.
I can't say that for sure. I do know that there's been some counties that have made that, but they've been backed by the county board. And again, elections have consequences. So as you see what I'm driving for today is that we have opportunities to put the people that we need to have in those positions. And if you don't think the people at township level or at county level can influence what decisions are made, we're dead wrong. So we gotta look at every opportunity we have to put the right person in.
You know, it's really important, maybe this mess we're in will help everybody get a little bit more involved in their local government, because I can tell you, you can peck away at the bottom leaves, or the bottom low-hanging fruit, they say, and you can peck away at it. You can influence people, and you can get the right people in to make the right decisions for your community, even if it's at a school board level, or at the road commission level, or county commissioners, or even your township level. It does help, and it does. You should really get involved because you learn a lot.
What as people can do to help pass a law to take some of this authority away from these people? Is there something that we can do to help you?
The signatures that we already have in will take that power away from them. We're just trying to get that through the process right now. But let me tell you, we are bound and determined to make sure that we give the power back to the people. And we have to understand, if you think what we're experiencing right now, when we have Republican control of the House and the Senate, and if we lose one leg of that, and now and just understand this, we already know we don't have a Secretary of State, we don't have the Attorney General, we don't have the Governor's office, but if we lose one of the two chambers that are left, my chamber, which is up in 2 more years, has to be the stop for the craziness that will continue to get pushed. So mask mandate I will tell you, will be passed in the House if we lose majority, and it'll come to the Senate and we won't pass that. There'll be other things that come through. Unemployment will be extended. We won't pass it. What it'll be is the defensive match that you've never seen before. And that is not what we want to have in the state of Michigan. But again, get your friends out to vote. It is the most important thing we can do right now.
So, do the Democrats actually, that you're working with, are they just following the leader? Or because I've always felt the conservatives are common sense people, giving power back to the people making decisions that are in their best interest and for their communities. So, is the other side, are they just followers of their party, or do they actually step back and have any common sense or look at any of this? It's really difficult to talk to people and see how they think. It's like,
Yes.
what are the little posts with?
Judy.
I think here's a perfect example. We went through a vote that we had almost a unanimous 100% vote.